Here we have a lead sheet for the song But Not For Me, using the chord changes that I'll be using in the first example. And you'll see them on the top of the page as I play through this first version of But Not For Me. Today I'm going to be playing the song But Not For Me by George Gershwin, and this is the refrain, or the more well-known part of the song. And I'm going to be using the spread voicings, and I'll be playing the conventional chords, or the more well-known chords that most jazz musicians play. Then I'm going to play it a second time using the drop two voicing technique. Okay, now I'm going to play through it again using the drop two voicing technique, and I'll play it a little slower so you can see the chord positions, and then later I'll explain the chords I'm using and how I'm voicing them. Let's take a look at the scale tone sevenths in root position. This is the key of C now, and these are the scale tone sevenths, or the block chords built on C. And they're 4-note chords. And we can use any of these chords to demonstrate the drop two voicings, or any 4-note chord can be used. So we'll move down now and look at the drop two voicings. What happens here now, we'll take the first chord, the C major 7, in its root position. That's C, E, G, B natural. So when we drop the 2, that means we're taking the second note from the top and we're moving it down an octave and playing it in the left hand. And that puts the 5th on the bottom of the chord. Now we have an open chord, or more of a spread voicing look. Here's the first inversion of a C major 7. Second note from the top is a B natural. So we move that down an octave in the left hand. Now we have a 7th on the bottom of the chord. Let's take a look at the second inversion. Same thing here now. We take the second note from the top, bring it down an octave. That puts the root on the bottom of the chord. The C now becomes the bottom note, and that's the root. In the third inversion, second note from the top is the E. Move that down an octave. That puts the 3rd on the bottom of the chord. So there's many possibilities. They don't just always have to be scale tone sevenths. They can be any 4-note chord, but there's many possibilities of sound using the drop two, and it's excellent for harmonizing melodies. Okay, I'm going to talk about the drop two voicing as I see it. and I'm going to take it from the perspective of a C scale. We're in a little closer here, so we've got the C major scale, and we're going to harmonize it in thirds, and then we can create triads, scale tone triads, these are called. Then we need 4 notes, so we're going to use scale tone sevenths. These. Okay, so that's the voicing in its block position for C major 7. For the drop 2, I take the second note down and drop it down an octave, and I take it out of the right hand, so I can put it in the left, or usually I'll play 1 note in the left and 3 notes in the right. So I've got that voicing. Now it's a spread. Instead of a block chord, it's a spread voicing. It sounds like this when you play the scale tone sevenths. So it's more open sound. Now you go to this first inversion, you have this. Second note down is the B. You take it out of the right hand, put it in the left, and you have this sound. Okay, now we go to the third inversion. This is the one I like in particular. Second note down is the C, or the root, so that comes here. You take it down an octave, actually. You have this. Okay? Now, the third inversion, take it down an octave here. The E would be the drop 2 down to here. Take it out of the right hand, you have this. Okay? So now what I like to use is this one. And then maybe do something like this. You go. Now what that is I'm playing like a C major. Now I'm going to a B diminished. So instead of this chord, which could be thought of as maybe a G7, I'm going like this. So I'm getting a B diminished. Or you could call it an A flat diminished. And I'm basing it on the bottom note. But it's open, an open sound, or spread voicing. Goes to an A minor 7, then you have a A flat diminished, goes to another inversion of the A minor 7, and then you can put another diminished chord here, to be an F sharp diminished, and you end up with that chord, which could be like a G7. Okay. So these are often rootless chords, but they have a very pretty sound, and I'm going to show you how I use them in the song, but not for me, in the key of E flat. Okay, what I'm doing with But Not For Me now, I'm in the key of E flat. I'm using the drop 2 technique. First, I've changed the chords now. The first measure is this. So I'm playing E flat, then a diminished chord, approach to the C minor, and then F minor, to a B flat 7. So I've changed the chords from an F7 B flat 7 to an E flat to a C minor to a F minor 7 to a B flat. That's a 1-6-2-5 progression. The interesting thing now is this drop 2 voicing, the second one is diminished. So it's an E flat approaching a C minor. Notice that the E flat is this, so it's this chord inverted. So the melody note is on top, and then I'm dropping the 2 here. I'm at major 7. So the 2 is dropping here. Then the melody comes da 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 da. Originally that was this. Da, da, but now it's this. That's actually what Ahmad Jamal plays in his famous version of But Not For Me. But that second chord now is altered to a diminished. See, it's got that. Normally it would be this. So you have diminished approach to a C minor. Now that could be thought of as a B diminished or a D diminished, rootless. There's another one. So there's a C7 with a flat 9. Drop 2 here. Here's the interesting part. This one. Up to a diminished chord. That note, remember the melody was this. That's automatically a dissonance, so I put it in as a diminished chord resolving to an A flat there, and then up. Okay, so because that's there, it's an E flat 7 now. Now we're going up the scale on an E flat 7 to this diminished chord, and so on. Let's take a minute to look at measures 11 and 12 of But Not For Me. This is the spread voicing that I used in the first version that I played for you. And I picked these two measures because it's a good example of how to use the drop 2 voicings. But in the first version I used a spread voicing with just a single melodic line. So one chord for this measure, and then the G minor 9 chord falling here with the A being the 9th of the chord, and then the C minor 7 on the 4th beat. Now when we compare that to the drop 2 voicings, now we have the advantage of using diminished chords as passing through. Now we have the F minor 7 I've substituted for the D flat. Either chord will work. So the F minor 7 here now has the 7th on the bottom, moving chromatically to an E diminished chord, which leads us nicely to an F minor 7 with the root on the bottom. We have this rising chromatic line. Then up to a G flat diminished chord. Now the A becomes part of that chord very nicely. And we have that moving to the G minor 7 now on the 3rd beat. So what we have here is a very strong harmonic support for that melodic line using the drop 2 voicings. Now I'm going to play this for you, and so you can hear how it sounds. Continuing, we have an F minor 7 here. That's its root position. In this inversion, we drop the 2 here. Takes us to an E diminished. That now becomes in root position with the left hand playing the root. That leads us to an F minor and then a G flat diminished here, resolving to G minor. So that's a very nice progression. It really fits that melody. Now we come down to C minor here. This is in root position. It's block chord inverted here. Second inversion, drop the 2 down, puts the root in the left hand, takes us to a D diminished, dropping the 2 here, which leads to an E flat 7. This is E flat 7 inverted with the drop 2 here. Leads us now to a E diminished chord, taking us to F minor. So now you have a nice melodic line harmonized with the drop 2. With 2 diminished chords in there. So those examples should help you now to apply some of this to songs you're working on. Hopefully looking at also the written examples and the downloadable arrangement. I'm going to play it one more time for you with the drop 2 voicing technique, and I'll take it a little slower. Okay, I hope that gives you an introduction to the drop 2 voicing technique as used in the song But Not For Me. And you can go to my website soon and I will have the arrangement available for you to download so you can check it out.